build in India, sell to the world. That's a very big play, right? We've got big population. We've got north of 1 billion mobile internet subscribers. That's a lot.
That everybody from your local tea stall guy
Yeah.
to the beggars on the street, if you say to them, I don't have any cash, they'll say,
You
"Hit me,"
pay,
or you buy me. Quick commerce was introduced by India.
Yeah.
I mean, this doesn't exist anywhere in Europe.
Broken cash cycles are broken PN, and nobody can fake it. The Ayurveda's no more like my nani's nuska.
Things are really changing. The narrative, beyond the narrative changing, the actual state of play is changing. Everyone is talking about India right now. And I have seen the growing trend over the last couple of years with the rising number of NRIs coming in who are deciding to stay and work here, who are reconnecting here, and they're exploring the opportunities within the market. But really, now the exciting part is that we have the figures. Apart from the obvious 1.4 billion figure, which has been there all along, which is obviously 1.4 billion to a Westerner is just an unimaginable figure. But then comes the next figure, which is the 7.4% GDP expected growth.
Yeah.
Now, 7.4%, let's put this into perspective. In comparison to that 7.4% for India, for the UK, it is 1.4%. Now, that is just a huge disparity. I think we need to get really clear about what these numbers actually mean, because whilst being here, I can feel the opportunity. You can feel the rise, you can feel the growth. And so many of my international partners are coming to me and saying, we want into India.
Yeah.
Great, I agree. But let's be a little less Barbie doll about this and actually make something about what does that mean tangibly in real execution terms.
I think honestly, looking at everything right now, all the reports, outlooks, everything, every headline right now, honestly, it's all market fluff, right? If you really think about hey, on a Saturday morning, a founder reading these headlines, what are they taking away from that? Literally nothing. It's like cheering for the scoreboard without literally understanding how the game is played, right? So again, this episode is about no fluff, no glorifying numbers, talking about actual stuff, actual sectors, the hot plays, where the real money is, and also where the graveyards are.
Yeah, absolutely. The opportunities and the graveyards. What do we do with these numbers when we actually deep dive into them? So let's just look at the scoreboard. Let's look at the numbers.
Okay, let's take a look at the scoreboard, right? We are looking at 7.4% as a GDP growth estimate for FY 25-26. We are looking at 1.33% of inflation in December 2025. That's super low, right? Again, same, December 25, you're looking at repo rate down to 5.25%. And here we have a signal. We are looking at UPI transactions crossing 21 billion in December 2025. These are not small numbers.
They are huge numbers. And let's just focus on one of those numbers, right? For now. And that is the 1.3% of inflation.
Yeah.
Now, what does that really mean? Now, when inflation is that low, it means that money's moving faster because confidence is building.
Yeah.
It means that debt is cheaper. Now, when debt is cheaper, you can borrow with a little less guilt and a lot less going out of the door.
Yeah. And consumers unlocked spending, right? It's about hey, let's buy, because we're not going to get that interest on saving at this point.
Exactly. But one thing to be careful about is that this rising tide doesn't just mean free money, right?
It's intense competition,
Exactly.
right?
Intense competition, more founders who are raising capital, and they're also able to validate. So you've got more fish in the same pond.
100%. And let's zoom out a bit, right? We are looking at 3 plays right now in India.
Yes.
Let's look at play number 1.
Which is India as a market, right?
Yeah. We've got big population. We've got north of 1 billion mobile internet subscribers. That's a lot. That's literally friction being dropped down to something that's super negligible, right?
And when you mean friction, what do you mean by that?
Imagine a business being able to access their consumers today. Look at that from look at 10 years before. Look at 10 years back in the past. Imagine being a founder or a business person who's building a soap or a food brand 10 years back. You have to build your warehousing, you have to build your distribution, you have to build your entire B2B2C layer. You have to own every part of manufacturing.
And then all the massive amounts of money that go into advertising. Whereas now, with 1 billion consumers on their mobile, everybody can just read it on their phone. Massive market access. It's a completely different ballgame. Let's look at play 2, which is India is a build base.
Yeah. I have a stat out here, right? Electronics production jumped to 5.25 lakh crores in FY 24-25, right? Why this is important? Because this anchors the production capacity of India, right? India as a build base is, again, it's not just about a China plus one play. It's about how do you build Indian relevant and globally relevant sort of products, right? Build in India, sell to the world. That's a very big play right now.
Yeah. And that is really a flip of the script that was there before. The West was always looking at India as an outsourcing house and nothing else. So things are really changing. The narrative, so beyond the narrative changing, the actual state of play is changing, which is a really interesting thing. And now if we look at the third one, it's India as an infrastructure state.
Interesting one. To me, this is very fascinating because execution friction for businesses is dropping, right? Again, let's look back at our previous cycle, right? December 2025, UPI transactions crossing 21 billion, right? What does that mean? India's phenomenally built India stack, UPI, Aadhaar, ONDC. What does this mean? Imagine it to be the plumbing behind every sort of application that could be built in this space. For our international audience, right? Let's break down what UPI is, right? Imagine not sending money from your bank account to somebody else's. Think Venmo and multiple such apps. You are sending money to somebody's UPI ID, which instantly transfers it to their bank account, right?
And the really interesting thing about this is that everybody from your local tea stall guy to the beggars on the street, they all have UPI.
Yeah.
If you say to them, I don't have any cash, they'll say, GPay me or UPI me. And the first time I heard this was just like, what? Next, let's go to the Aadhaar card.
Let's talk about Aadhaar, right? Imagine a centralized identity with biometrics. Now, why is Aadhaar important? It's not the Aadhaar card. It's the identification method that they've built out. Imagine you having to sign up on a fintech platform or a new wallet platform or any sort of platform, right? Which requires your identity to be verified.
Like KYC.
Your KYC,
and
right?
It's essentially plugging in your social security or your national insurance number and it actually being recognized and read in other places instantly.
100%.
Game changer.
Yeah. But how do you think this changes the go-to-market, the cash flow, and the unit economics?
Because all you have to do is plug and play, right? Your infrastructure is there. All you're doing is connecting the pipes.
Yeah.
And instead of having to build a way to do the KYC, you don't need to do that layer anymore.
Yeah.
You're literally just plugging into what already exists. And that not only saves huge amounts of development time, it meets regulatory compliance.
Yeah.
It is connected into the government system and all of the data is already there and available.
Yeah.
It just means that you can focus on building the product instead,
Yeah.
rather than just all of the infrastructure pieces that usually take so much time and energy.
And that's why the execution friction is dropping.
Which makes a lot of sense. And I mean, in the UK, you can't even get your medical records from one place to another. They don't talk to each other. So to have a key national identifier that just gives access to everything, I mean, okay, yeah, some people will say Big Brother's watching, but how much time and energy does it save you to just get it done like that?
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of that. Now, obviously, in any year, we look at top sectors, right?
Yeah.
Every market has top sectors for them. We're going to just take 5 of these that we see as being really hot and interesting. Let's talk about renewables, grid, and storage, because it's not a trend anymore here, right? It's infrastructure.
Yeah. I've got a stat which says India's sitting at 253.96 gigawatts of renewable capacity.
And the really key thing here is that it's overtaken energy production from coal. And for a country of this size, that is remarkable that we now have more renewable energy.
That's massive, but
Very impressive.
yeah.
But where are the opportunities here? Is it's not really putting in more wind farms or solar panels?
Yeah. We're looking at intelligent grids. We are looking at smaller intelligent grids. We are looking at asset optimization. We are looking at increasing energy efficiency. We are looking at battery tech. We are looking at the finance layer behind this.
So we're looking at really the analytics, optimization, and the brain power around this,
Yeah.
which is a really interesting piece.
Which is not just infra anymore. It's all the picks and shovels around it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, the second sector that we're going to look at is a really interesting one to me, and I'll tell you why in my perspective, but it's logistics and supply chain. Now, where I think this is fascinating as a Westerner, it's because quick commerce was introduced by India.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking quick commerce comes within 3 hours, half a day, this week, 10 minutes.
10 minutes. Under 10 minutes.
Minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, this doesn't exist anywhere in Europe or the UK or even the US as far as I'm aware. 10 minutes. Now that is, I mean, in terms of service, it's phenomenal to know that if my shampoo runs out or I've forgotten my adapter, I can get it delivered to my door in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's just, it creates that level of expectation that you want things that when you want them immediately.
But this sector is not about trucks.
No, it definitely is not just about
Yeah.
trucks.
We're looking at dark stores. We're looking at supply chain softwares. We are looking at, again, enablers in the middle, right? We're looking at, again, drivetrains. We're looking at faster AI-enabled procurement.
And, you know, I came across a project that's very, very interesting in this space that actually looks at optimizing warehousing space.
Yeah.
They go in and they measure everything. They take a record of what would create the highest ROI on the basis of the space that you have available. And this is the kind of value product that's coming in and changing the game.
And that's how these quick commerce businesses are optimizing their efficiency, right? It's how do we optimize down to the smallest square inch? We had looked at malls a while ago. They used to optimize for revenue per square feet. We are down to like square inches. That's a very different level
It's
of
getting very
optimization.
granular, right?
Yeah.
Because people have realized how much higher the ROI can go. And that is a really cool thing because businesses are able to make more money, which means they're able to hire more people, which means that the economy's growing, right? So being that granular with your data actually is helping the economy grow and succeed.
Yeah. And logistics is a lot about cash cycles, right? If broken cash cycles are broken P&Ls, like, and nobody can fake it. You can't fake your receivables.
Indeed, you can't. Segueing on from that, because I think that this is a really, really big one, is data centers and cloud. Now, with the rising technology solutions out on the market, and they're not dipping down, they're just growing. And with everything being about consumer purchasing quickly, getting solutions immediately, using more and more AI solutions, it's about compute, which powers AI, and it's about storing data, again, which AI requires, but also all of this data needs to be hosted somewhere. It needs to be housed somewhere. And this is why this is one of the largest growing sectors.
Yeah.
And you have everyone from the largest conglomerates to the real estate guys who are all making a play in the data center space.
Yeah. And if we dive down a little deeper out there, right, it's not about just building a data center. There used to be businesses who should do that. But again, look at the GPU requirements, look at the compute requirements, look at the edge infrastructure that people are looking at right now, right? Again, it's not just for AI, it's about 5G, it's about IoT, right? Think about robotics, sensors, think about hydroponic farms that use real-time sensors and data to actuate things, right? That requires edge compute, and that's not cheap, right? You're looking at cooling technologies. We are looking at again better infrastructure from a physical controlled environment perspective.
Yeah, and it's about latency reduction. It's about sustainable infrastructure. It's about some of the boring bits that you don't even think of being there. But these are where the really big opportunities are, because the data centers are being built regardless.
Yeah. And
Then
a key angle out there is obviously energy optimization and also a sustainable angle to it, right?
Yeah.
How do we build data centers sustainably?
So that they can keep growing.
Yeah.
Because the technology requirements aren't going down, they're only going up.
Yeah.
One of the biggest and most interesting sectors here is healthcare and pharma. Because, I mean, yes, people are living longer, but they're also getting sicker with the rising of pollution and the high stress demands on people's bodies. Healthcare requirements are not going down, they're going up. And with that, as people get sicker, pharma grows as well.
Yeah. See, I have a stat which says healthcare market is heading towards 54 lakh crores in India. That's a lot.
It's a lot, but you know what I find really fascinating and super cool here is that I can walk into a clinic and get an x-ray like this immediately.
Yeah.
And they give me my reports and I take them home. Yeah. So if I want to get an x-ray, instead of being in the UK, waiting for the NHS, etc., I can get my x-rays and I can take them to any country, to any doctor I want to, and they'll have all of my reports.
Yeah.
And that is really cool. I can get a blood test taken at my house.
Yeah.
And the results are delivered to my mobile within 24 hours. Now, this is healthcare like on demand.
But see, that's where healthcare is also hard and complex in its own operational flows, right? But you're seeing modern age models coming up where hey, you pay 1,000 rupees monthly as a subscription fee to access all formats of diagnostic and primary care, unlimited virtual and physical consults.
It's crazy. It's like Netflix or Spotify for your health. And I think this is really cool because it puts control back into our hands, right? As people, as the consumers, as the patients, whatever you want to call us, different markets call us different things. And that level of control, I think we're going to see grow phenomenally as we take more control of our health, of our data, of our own well-being to make sure that we are on the right path of wellness.
Yeah. And for sure, I think to add to that, healthcare and pharma is also very capex heavy business, right? And again, the financing layer, very much required. The admin ops, not easy, right? There's so many operational messy realities that exist that everywhere as a whole, everything needs to be plugged.
Indeed, it's just a sector that will continue to grow with its requirements, especially as we get quicker on things. Let's talk about this 1.4 billion population of consumers and really about what direct-to-consumer brands are doing and where we're seeing the trends. I've heard that some companies are making in excess of 100 crores, which is $12 million.
Yeah.
Based purely on trials through sexy social media ads. I mean, this just wouldn't happen anywhere else.
Yeah.
Where are we seeing the main trends here? I mean, look, let's take beauty and personal care. The number of brands I see rising here is astronomical.
Okay, let's talk about beauty and care, right? A $31 billion market, not a small one. But honestly, the demand drivers are changing, right? You have men who now understand what salicylic acid is. Where does this consumer awareness come from, right? You've never had that before.
Yeah.
And at this peak of consumer awareness, right, is where the new opportunities are coming out. Consumers are looking at the labels. Consumers are looking at the processes. The consumers are looking for transparency through and through, right? This is why, again, let me tell you about a brand, right? Let me tell you about Simply Nam by Namrata Soni, right? India's first and only makeup artist brand. I love it. Again, co-founded by Hannah, a dear friend of mine. Again, we go a long back. We've been working with Simply Nam for like ages now, if I may say that. But what I love about the brand is the super tight TCs, right? International brands, especially in beauty, don't work on Indian consumers because of the peculiarities of Indian weather and the diversity of Indian skin tones, right? How do you expect international beauty brands and products to again perform the way they ideally would outside on Indian turf, right?
Yeah, and I have to agree with that, right? Getting my Charlotte Tilbury stack back in London works great in Edinburgh, works great in London. And then as soon as I get into India and use it, I think that I've made a mistake with Selfridge's lighting. But actually, it's just about climate and weather conditions. And not everything can work for everyone everywhere. It's just not simply possible.
And especially in beauty, right? You would want to build a business today, which number one, product is the king, right? People need to love the product, buy it once, love the product, and the replenishment cycle should be visible, right? In India, it's not just about an AOV one-time purchase game. Real money is in how predictable your LTV is, right? So building businesses with visible and actual replenishment cycles and what work in terms of performance for the Indian market, super critical right now.
Hence why we're seeing smaller sizes of products, right? Rather than larger sizes that last you 6 months. And there is no point having a large size beauty product because you're not supposed to use it after a certain time period because it's no longer good for your skin.
Yeah.
So this methodology is not only better for the skin, better for the face, better for, your pores, but it's actually better for the brand because they're making recurrable income on a regular basis.
Yeah.
So
Super
overall,
important. Reputable purchase is super important right now.
absolutely. Next one is food and beverage, especially in the premium segment.
My favorite segment, to be honest, right? Again, it's crossing $30 billion right now. And consumers are, again, just like beauty, super aware. The education has just hit in at the right point.
And it's happened really quickly, right? India is the diabetes capital of the world now.
Yeah.
And I remember hearing this, I think, less than a year ago.
Yeah.
Because it was just on its way there. And it must be within the span of 6 months, I saw more than 30 or so health food brands just pop up overnight. And with quick commerce, the idea that I can actually get gluten-free flour delivered in 10 minutes
In 10 minutes.
is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Add to that gluten-free, ready-to-make pancakes. I can get vegetable chips. I can get things that have got no flour, no added processed sugar, that have got no palm oil. And there are just so many different varieties and all available through quick commerce. So it's not like you have to make an order with a Holland & Barrett in the UK and wait a week for delivery.
Yeah.
I run out of something and I can get it in 10 minutes, 25 minutes max if it's a busy period. And I'm like, oh, it's 25 minutes for delivery. That is how spoiled we are.
And let's think about it, right? We crave chocolates, we crave ice cream, we crave desserts, right? Today, because of quick commerce, I'm happy to wait 10 minutes, but usually within the next 5 minutes, I get my millet-based protein bar, right? We're fighting our own vices with.
We are. And
Which-
it is easier.
Yeah.
So there's the angel and devil side to this, right? Because often when you're having a craving and it feels like it's too much effort to get, then you can usually get rid of that craving.
Yeah.
But because you can get anything delivered in 10 minutes, your chocolate is at your doorstep in 10 minutes. But conversely, it also means that you're able to stabilize your blood sugar on a regular basis with the right foods, which I think is also a phenomenal thing because usually in any of these situations, the one thing that's always left out is healthy food.
Yeah.
So the fact that this is now all available through quick commerce, I'm a big fan. But
And I think that unlocked distribution, right? Think about it. Amul entering protein-rich product range. They have 10 gram, 20 gram enhanced protein range. That's unreal, right? Amul, the most traditional dairy-based brand, is entering this because that is where, again, while distributions unlock, we are seeing the consumer awareness sort of hit in as well. And I think the peculiarity of this industry is a little different as well, right? Consumers are looking for on-the-go convenience as well. And that's not just from like an on-the-go convenience. It's also about like, hey, think about it. I want a protein powder. I don't want to buy a 4,500 rupee random chocolate protein powder, right? I don't want to try the new brand out. I'd want a trial pack. Today, the convenience offerings are also doubling up as a smaller trial version, which is reducing the barrier for consumers to enter a brand. And once you've opened the door, consumers are in.
And they've tried it, they like your product, they like the taste, they like the effect, then they'll keep coming back. And this trial size product piece is something that I think is really cool because you don't really get it in the UK. And having that access, I mean, apart from the whole convenience thing, which I love convenience because I travel so much. I think that barrier for entry going lower is a really great thing that I think so many brands can still learn from.
Yeah.
Because not every single brand is out there doing that.
Yeah. If you crack the right product at the right price, India's your playground, right? One of our beloved brands, Two Bros Organic Farms, right? Satyajit, Ajinkya, the founding farmers. I love them. I'm inspired by them because, again, they left their banking careers to come back to the soil, to the farming the right way, not the pesticide version, the organic traditional farming way, and get the right products. Again, while preserving traditional sort of practices, innovate, bringing the technology on the operation side, bringing the technology on the laboratory side, and just they've created a phenomenal brand, right? Today, if I were to give you a sense of scale, back in 2018, we met them at the Bandra Farmers Market. Today, they sell across 52 countries globally, right?
And isn't that insane? Because we're now sitting at 2026. That's 6 years from a farmer's market to 52 countries.
Yeah.
And that is, it's a beautiful story. And I think what's really cool here is the fact that Two Brothers are essentially part health food product and part wellness product.
Yeah.
And we're seeing a massive growth in the wellness industry right now.
Correct.
We've been seeing it for a little while, especially post-COVID. People have become so much more aware of their own health and well-being. And this trend isn't dying. It isn't slowing down. It is exploding. I saw a new term recently that it's now wealth. WELLTH. Wealth. Because wellness is the new currency.
Yeah.
And it's about this growing trend of you taking care of your healthcare. The way that we talked about before, the growing capabilities in the healthcare industry is directly linked to the wellness industry. Everything from morning coffee raves because people are giving up alcohol. A lot of people are going, is there any point anymore? Infrared saunas, regular massages, having the right supplements, going and exercise, all these things, they all interconnect into this whole industry of wellness, which continues to grow with new and innovative solutions.
And it's also a massive one. It's $156 billion in terms of market size. And plus again, think about it from a consumer lens. They are not looking at preventive is the new curative, right? It's about prevention. It's about being in a healthy zone consistently.
Which is really quality of life.
Yeah.
Right? Because when you're sick, you're not happy.
Yeah.
Things aren't getting done. So actually being well and taking care of your wellness on a regular basis is just really important. And it's just interrelated to so many different factors.
It's not just about, honestly, Ayurveda anymore, or just science from the pharmaceutical industry. It's how do we get Ayurveda plus science together? How do we focus on longevity, right? How do we focus on the best of both worlds? But today, Ayurveda is no more like my nani's nuska. right? It's backed by laboratory reports. It's backed by science.
It's data-backed products that work. And if the products don't work, then they will be left at trial phase. And people are impatient. So
100%.
the only way, the big opportunity here is to make sure that you have a product that works and shows some efficacy and difference within 30 days so that people keep taking it. They don't feel any different, or they do not like the taste, or there's a funny smell, or there's something that isn't quite right with it. People will jump ship.
Yeah, efficacy is super important. A product might be phenomenal for a certain, say, we look at fertility supplements, right? Not under 30-day product, right? It's going to take a longer while for it to create the good effects in your actual system. But businesses today, a lot of these supplement brands are actually introducing ingredients which have the feel good effects. Because, again, as you said, consumers are impatient. Those feel good effects are super important to ensure the consumers are taking the product consistently.
And coming back for more. And it's the repeat customers that keeps a business growing, and not just being a story that was there for 1 year, a few years ago, and dying after that.
Yeah. And I think that's where the consumer opportunities are, right? Women's health, men's health, but efficacy driven.
Yeah.
Very important.
1000%. Very adjacent to the wellness space is, of course, the fitness and sports product space.
Let's go play paddle.
Do you know, I still haven't tried it, even though people keep telling me to.
Yeah.
I feel a little bit of FOMO. And also, I'm a little bit scared because now everybody's done it, and I feel like a little bit embarrassed to try it. But our news feeds are just full of everybody playing paddle.
Yeah.
What's it all about?
It's a $4.8 billion market, right? And it's not just about a product anymore. Again, if you're trying to build a product, Decathlon's going to eat you like cake tonight. Right? As simple as that. Because it's about experiences. It's about community. It's about connections with other humans. Because again, I read the stat. India's got more than 61%, like in terms of loneliness index.
And this isn't just about India, right? The whole loneliness epidemic came out after COVID, after people were locked away and really left with themselves. And this follows the whole societal changes, which is that people are getting married later. They are choosing themselves first. And because society has shifted, that loneliness has started to grow. And people are seeking community.
Yeah.
And I think more so than ever before, because there was that moment when it was all taken away, people on a subconscious level, people appreciate it so much more. I had a really interesting debate the other day at my exercise class about group classes versus one-to-one.
Yeah.
And some people prefer a group class and some people prefer a one-to-one. And I think that it's really about whether you like having the energy of others around you and having that healthy environment. Not all environments are healthy, but having that healthy environment of people cheering you on. And because of that community tribe element, all these new brands that are coming out.
Yeah. I mean, let's just think about High Rocks debuting in India last year, right? I am super disheartened that I've not been at the peak of my fitness to be able to take a part in the High Rocks race. But that changes for me. This is the year I do it. I can't leave that out, right?
Because they came in.
100%, right? It's about, again, most of my peer founders, a lot of our friends, they've just taken part. Like, I literally went to a High Rocks race simulation 2 weeks back, right? Not even the real race. Real race is probably 8 months from now. We are going out for simulations.
But right? So it's a tribe activity.
Yeah.
So it's about the community. And a lot of these brands that are now building athleisure wear, you can't just build it. You can't manufacture yoga leggings. You have to deliver the yoga sessions too, like Lululemon did back in the day, right? They would have free yoga classes on a weekly basis. At least they did in the West. I don't know whether they did here. There's a really cool brand that's out of Thailand, and the founder is proud. And she created this brand called Peaches Active. Obviously, she came to the business lounge in Bangkok, which is how we met. And she was telling me her story on how she really wanted to create really cool athleisure wear that would work within a gym, studio, yoga environment, but you could actually wear it out during the day because you would feel comfortable wearing it for the rest of the day, just the way we did in New York. On a Saturday, you would wear your workout gear to go and run for groceries or do your errands or whatever. And that is coming back into play. So she created that great brand, and then she opened her store where they host classes weekly.
Yeah.
Because she knows that you have to have the two pieces in place of having the products and the tribe. Yeah. You connect them together and people want to be there. They want to wear your stuff. And they also want to be a part of that brand and feel part of that community.
Yeah. That's the anchor, right? Community comes first in this industry. Product is your upsell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even if you do start with the product, as some have, everyone's now moving to the community angle because they know that that's ultimately where the growth opportunity lies. Talking of community, let's talk about furry communities. The rise of pet care.
A $6.5 billion market, right? A massive one. And honestly, what I'm seeing right now, most of the pet parents, as they call it right now, are like first time pet owners, right? Mostly Gen Z. I mean, they're so young. They are anxious about their babies in this context, right? They're figuring out products, services, care as they go. And that's super important because pet care as an industry is built on trust, right? You are technically catering after somebody's baby in this context, right? And again, the anxiety that the consumers have today, piggybacking on top of that and being able to build a trustworthy brand, that's just where money is. Right?
And I mean, this is an industry that's been growing globally for quite some time. My sister always tells me that her dog eats better than she does because he only eats organic food that's human grade. So it's definitely been a growing trend, but it's really interesting that it's now firmly cementing itself into the Indian market. Yeah. What do you think the opportunities are here in the pet
This is where long-term money comes in, right? Once you've won the trust of a pet parent or a pet owner, you've got the pet for the entirety of your life cycle, right? To be really honest, you start with your hero products and everything else is up for an upsell, right? That's again, tile packs, hero products, subscriptions. Very important. We've seen subscriptions not work in India pre-COVID. The times are changing. The consumers have drastically changed, right? And trust-based economy, trust-based consumer products, that's where subscriptions literally just slide in right now.
So subscriptions are the way forward in many ways. Now, we've talked about five of the top D2C spaces. Now, I think what's really, really important is that they are not all applicable for India as a market, the 1.4 billion population. Let's really get specific and particular because India is not one country.
Yeah.
It is 3 separate countries, 3 separate segments, 3 different target audiences. And anyone who thinks that their TAM, their target addressable market, which you will always need for your pitch decks and for your business planning, if they're saying that it's 1.4 billion, you are buggered because you are not thinking on the right lines.
That's
so
delusional.
Let's just, absolutely delusional. So let's break this down. Let's talk about India 1.
Okay. Before we dive into India 1, India 2, and India 3, let's think about it, right? These are not tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 cities because geographies and cities in India don't correlate to this. At the same, you'll see in a certain space, you'll see founders taking the entire teams out for an offsite to say Bali, right? At the same time, you will see people lining up outside a rationing store, right? These are realities. India 1, India 2, India 3, coexist at the same time. Let's talk about India one. These are your top 100 million people, right? Who pay for luxury, premiumness, convenience. And these are people who own most of the credit cards, but the credit cards companies still want to sell to them. This is your India one, right?
Acting a lot like people from the West.
Yeah. Again, they pay for quality, convenience, brand.
And then how about India 2? Are they just India 1 in waiting?
That is your aspirational middle. Let's look at the next 200 million people from there, right? They're going to pay for value. They are going to also pay for convenience, but they're going to pay for like flexibility. They really want payment plans. This is your India 2 that's buying iPhones on an EMI for 2 years.
But they are still buying the iPhone. So they are the aspirational market that is growing, but are a little bit more price conscious.
Yeah.
Perhaps a little less disposable income,
Yeah.
but the largest and fastest growing segment.
Yeah.
So they'll want the status and they'll want the designer sneakers, but they'll wait for it to be on sale.
Yeah. And that's where let's say we segue into India 3, right? India 3 is where functional needs are super important. It's about the Maslow's hierarchy, right? It's about the roti kapda makan. Very important, right? And premium stuff, luxury stuff doesn't cater to them. This is the India which looks at products which are built from lean distribution, right? You're looking at not a Surf Excel pack of say 5 kg. You're looking at a 15 rupee smaller sachet, right? All three Indias exist at the same time, probably in the same region at the same time. You can literally see it.
On the same street.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And the mass market, that India 3 is the 1 billion plus.
Yeah.
Hand to mouth.
Yeah.
And it's not paycheck to paycheck because most of these aren't necessarily getting a paycheck unless they're in the service industry, but you get things like your tuk-tuk drivers, right? Your taxi drivers. And they are buying things on a weekly basis on ration, but they're buying what they need in very small quantities at a very, very tiny price point.
And I think that is where a lot of founders go wrong, right? They think I can build a product for the entire 1.4 billion TAM. That's not the case. You can rarely build a product which fits for all the three Indias at the same time. Super rare.
And that the only time you would really ever do that is if you're building for India 3 and India 2 and India 1 also decide to consume the same products.
Yeah.
But it would be built at its base level for India 3 where there are razor thin margins.
Yeah.
But you're looking at a real volume game.
Yeah. That's why, again, there's this new term that's come out, right? You don't build for India, you build for Bharat, right? That's building for the entire India 3.
You're right.
Yeah.
And this is the key thing. This is where a lot of these brands are failing, right? Because they're not choosing their India 1, 2, or 3. They're building for some India 1.5. So they're too cheap for India 1. And they are a little bit too expensive for India 2. So they get lost in the middle, don't capture either market.
Yeah.
And they just crash and burn.
Yeah.
Because they are looking at an addressable market of something that's huge. And then they're just churning through all of their budget, which doesn't work.
And if you are stuck in this middle, India's going to eat you alive. Being very frank about it, right? India's a stress test zone.
And you know what's really good is that if you're watching this, there is an opportunity. If you have been confused about your audience, to take a moment and go back to the drawing board and say, actually, who am I building for? Is the price point right?
Yeah.
Is the positioning right? Is the marketing right? Just because an influencer has 3 million followers.
That's where a lot of founders go wrong, right? This building for the middle where like they're not catering to either of the correct audiences. India's going to eat you alive. And
I think that's really where there is an opportunity, because if you're a founder watching this right now and it resonates, you have a moment, right? You have a moment where you can think about this and really reflect, which India are you actually building for? Are you priced right? Are you targeting the right audience? And okay, you work with an influencer who has 1 or 3 million different followers. But remember, not all of those 3 million followers will be your target audience if you are building for tier 1. There will be maybe 3% of those,
Yeah.
5% of those, realistically. So it's really about getting super crystal clear about which India you're building for, and then making sure that everything about your brand aligns with that.
Yeah. And I think India's also a very heavy stress test zone for a lot of businesses, right? Let's talk about once you started scaling in India. How do you go up?
I think because this is such a dog market, if you can survive and thrive here, then the corridor is there and it's available. The easiest one, obviously, is the Middle East, because you have an Indian diaspora ready to go who will recognize the brand, might even have some brand affinity with you, but you charge Middle Eastern prices. So you keep all your operations in India,
Yep.
have the products selling in the UAE and at those price points, which is phenomenally higher than it is in India. The other opportunities, really, other countries with similar economic positions as India, Southeast Asia, Africa, and then you go after the same market segments, but knowing full well that, like India, there are different stratas of societies. So you've got to be very clear about who it is you're selling to. When it comes to exporting to the West, I think that's a little bit trickier because the West does expect a higher quality. And there are some things, it depends on what you're selling. If it is consumer goods, there will be some consumer goods that will transition really nicely, like Two Brothers.
Yeah.
Because over there, they're also more health conscious and it's packaged and it's fine and it will work there.
Yeah.
Things like clothing sometimes don't work because the quality sometimes isn't as high.
And sizing, right?
Sizing and it's a different climate.
Yeah.
So there's multiple reasons why that doesn't work. But things like tech, easy, right?
Scalable.
Easy, scalable, works. So it all depends on exactly what it is that you've built and whether it does work for the Western market. But don't just go, oh, I want to be in London just because you do. Think about the product market fit. Does it work for the climate? Does it work for the appetite? Who is your target audience? But there is always opportunity because you have managed to survive and thrive in India. There is that opportunity to go outwards. But the key thing is to make sure that your foundation and operational structure is completely tight, because otherwise you'll be scaling globally and losing globally rather than scaling globally and consistently, sustainably having that growth.
Yeah. And I think that's super important, right? Founders should stop asking what's hot, what sector, what theses, what format of consumer marketing should we do now? It's about procurement, distribution, cash flow, right unit economics, and just sustainable, core, strong foundations.
The basics, right? Get the basics in play and just go and make more money from it.
Thank you so much for watching Founders Cut. That's been our time. If you really like our episodes, drop in a subscribe. If you want us to cover any specific topics, please drop in comments.